Hey, Pastor Garrett here for another youth service announcement. This week we're going to be covering the second item in our series of growing greater spiritual maturity. But before we get into that, I want to go over a couple of events that we have coming up on our youth calendar. First, we have our youth mission trip. That's coming up on March 29th through April 1st. It's a Sunday through Wednesday. And we're going to be connecting with the Center for Student Missions down in Los Angeles, and we're going to be plugging in with some ministries that they have for us down there. Now, the deadline to sign up is going to be February 8th. That's a week from today. And the deadline for our deposits, which is $65 per person, is going to be 2 weeks from today on February 15th. So those are important days to note. Also, February 8th, we're going to be doing a parents' meeting. I've invited the parents of the students to come and meet with me in our youth lounge so that we can get together and kind of talk about some things that are going to be happening over the next few months with the youth group. Finally, we do have our Ash Wednesday service. We do this annually at First Presbyterian Church, and with this particular event, what we do is instead of going to youth group right after our Body Life dinner, which is at 6 p.m., we're actually going to be going into the service at 6:40 and participating. So those are on the agenda for the next couple of weeks. Just wanted to give you the heads up. Now we're going to turn our time over to the point of this particular youth service announcement, which is talking about the next point in our current Wednesday night study. Last week we talked about materialism being something that we need to abandon for greater spiritual maturity. This week we're going to be talking about competition, specifically unhealthy competition. Now, I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but tonight was the Super Bowl. And it was a really good game. New England Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks 28-24. Really close. I was kind of thinking the Seahawks would win, but Patriots pulled through. Tonight was a really great example of how competition can be healthy and how it can be unhealthy. Healthy competition is great. Healthy competition is meant to encourage us, is meant to help us be at our best as individuals, as groups of people. We put ourselves in a challenge. I am not really much of a sports person. What I've competed in the past has been martial arts. I've competed in hockey. That's kind of my go-to sport right there. I've also competed in other arenas, mostly intellectual stuff like trivia games, stuff like that. My students can tell you that if you see my scores on Trivia Crack, that's, they're trying to figure out how I keep beating them. It's just what I do. Anyway, when it comes to competition, healthy competition is good, but unhealthy competition occurs when we focus so much on winning at any cost. We're more concerned with the win than with actually just enjoying what we're doing. And that's where the problem comes into play. In fact, the New England Patriots were recently accused basically of cheating 2 weeks ago when they played against the Indianapolis Colts. They were accused of deflating their balls so that they will be able to hold onto the balls or catch them a little bit easier than what would be regulation. It created a whole issue over the last couple of weeks leading up to the Super Bowl. And even during the game, after a really surprise interception by the Patriots towards the end, there's a huge fight between both teams. Both sides of the line of scrimmage were at each other's throats, punching, tossing each other around. It was brutal. I was really shocked by this. And why? What's the point? And here's the thing. We get a great sense of unhealthy competition from a biblical reference. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see our Bible verses for this particular video. Genesis chapter 4, verses 3 through 5. In it, we see the story of Cain and Abel. Abel, as we know, is a shepherd. Cain, his older brother, is a farmer. Abel, at some point, decides that he is going to make a sacrifice to God. Cain follows up with making a sacrifice as well. However, Cain's sacrifice gets rejected. Now the question is, why was Cain rejected? What did he do wrong? Did he do anything wrong? And the answer is, Cain did not get rejected. His sacrifice did. But he did do something wrong. See, when Abel made his sacrifice, He gave God the fat portions and the choice cuts of his firstborn lamb. He recognized that God is the guest of honor. See, back in those days, in Hebrew culture, Jewish culture, and even before that, during the time of Adam and Eve, if you were the guest of honor, those were the portions that you received. Abel recognized God as the guest of honor and gave him what was due. Cain, probably not wanting to be outdone by his brother, gave God a sacrifice that involved some of his crops. And he probably did it at the last second, without giving it a whole lot of thought. And that's what he did wrong. And see, really what it comes down to is competition is meant to encourage us, yes, but in God's eyes, God doesn't want us to be competing for his attention. He is our Holy Father. We are his children. But he doesn't want to play favorites with us. He doesn't want to have us competing for his attention. He wants us to bring him our best. And that's what Abel did. That's what Cain didn't do. And Cain's sense of competition was so unhealthy that he ended up killing his brother, which ultimately destroyed his relationship with his brother because he couldn't get that back, and it destroyed his relationship with God. Now, after this whole event, it doesn't really say much about what happens to Cain, except for that he creates a lineage of people, whatever that lineage was. But we see these two people, brothers, that experience the negative sides of competition. So as we're going through this video, I want to encourage you to look at the questions at the bottom of the screen. They're attached to the video. Read up on these verses, and we'll see you next week. God bless.